This is my financial disclaimer so I don't get sued.
Good morning, good evening, good whatever time it is you're listening to this. I hope you're having a good one. Let's take a look at what we're covering in today's video. In this video, I'll be going over the data sets and doing a fairly quick technical analysis for the SPY for January 13th, 2026. And with that said, let's go ahead and jump straight into the data. Now, for Monday, January 12th, 2026, there was not a whole lot of data, but we did have the 3-year note auction and we did have the 10-year note auction. They did not pull upward in yield very much or downward in yield very much, but they did slightly pull downward in yield. Overall, it's a good thing. They were fairly neutral auctions. They weren't bad auctions. They weren't great auctions. But this does show that buyer demand was fairly, a little bit stronger than standard. Now, with that said, we did have Fed member Bostic and Fed member Williams speaking today. I don't think anything majorly important was said. If there was, I did not catch it. I was actually not at my desk for a majority of the day. I apologize for that. Now, getting into Tuesday, January 13th, very, very important day. We have the ADP weekly employment change at 8:15 a.m. Now, the previous was at 11.5K. Um, Really, this number needs to be creating roughly around 50K jobs a week. Um, on the lower end, around 40K to really see the type of numbers that truly need to be seen. That's close to the 150 to 200,000 jobs being created each week. We're far from that right now, and going over the ADP weekly changes, we've been seeing those numbers coming in negative, slightly above zero, negative, slightly positive again. So it's still very, very low in the whole grand scheme of things for the labor market. Now, with that said, 8:30 a.m., very, very important time slot. That's when all of the CPI data comes out. Now, again, the forecast is expecting, slightly higher inflation through the CPI, and largely they're attributing that towards the December data that's been coming out so far. But with that said, I still believe we'll be seeing these numbers come in slightly cooler. Um, with that said, I don't really. It wouldn't surprise me if we see these numbers come in almost exactly with what the forecast is suggesting. I don't really expect them to come in higher than this. I think that'd be a little bit of a surprise to the market if that happens. Now, the next important time slot is 10 a.m. There really isn't, I'm not paying attention to the no, new home sales that much, but I know that it's starting to become a part of the market narrative, and that definitely means that opportunities are going to start presenting themselves there. Um, Whether that's something that we can use in the current moment or not, um, I'm personally not doing. It's just something that I know we should be starting to pay attention to. The 30-year bond auction is at 1 p.m. tomorrow, and this one's going to be very, very crucial because it'll be after the really important consumer price data. Um, This is going to be a lot different than the 10-year print where it was very neutral. This CPI data is going to very, very likely influence the 30-year bond auction to be, higher yielding or lower yielding compared to a fairly neutral yield. We also get an update on the federal balance. That's not important for most people. And that looks like it for Tuesday. So Tuesday, very big day, but primarily it's that morning time slot, and the 30-year auction will, tell a lot about what the Treasury market is thinking about the long end of the curve. So I still believe we're going to be entering towards a zero interest rate policy, um, monetary policy stance very, very likely soon. Um, but with that said, there's a lot of things going on politically that can sort of change that. So, keeping an open mind right now, I would like to see, the next probably about 2 weeks of data because I really do want to see not just the CPI, I want to see the PPI, and I really want to see the ECE data. Um, that's going to be very, very crucial, I believe, moving forward. So, with that said, that's all the data for Tuesday.
If you're enjoying this, please check out my Patreon. For just $1 a month, you can join our community chat and access our tools like the Unusual Whale Spot and our own personal GEX and DEX market positioning. My $12.99 premium tier gives access to my personal trades, 2 live classes a week, which are on Wednesdays and Sundays, and direct support from myself. The links to join are below, but you can also join through patreon.com/wooksy. Thank you for supporting me to help you build skills for a lifetime.
And getting into the SPY technical analysis, I am going to try to keep this fairly short as the thesis over the probably the last 4 videos now really hasn't changed. Everything has been pretty much moving according to what we've been expecting. The only difference is that let me step back. We were looking for the upper Bollinger push in this range. It did not happen. We had that rejection, and I've talked about this range before. I'm not going to talk about it in tonight's video so much, but we had that rejection, and from that rejection, built support back up, had a very, very likely and large potential of a upper Bollinger push there, but instead there was a little bit more liquidity needed. We retested the 5 mile, and from that we've been pushing upward. Now, currently the overnight's seeing a little bit of, excuse me, a little bit of selling. Now, I don't really count this as selling. I think that this is just kind of nothing overnight action. I believe come pre-market and the open, we'll be seeing a lot more bullishness, especially if we see the CPI data come in cooler. Now, with that said, the market is really set up to either push up to this upper Bollinger, and I know I've been stating this for a while, but again, I've mentioned those potential upper Bollingers, and with the market, remember it's always about potentials and about weighing which potentials are the most likely to happen, and that's why some people will complain and say I have kind of a duality type of view on things, but I'm not either bullish or bearish for the most part. I like to go where I see the direction going. If I see it going upward, I'll take the direction upward. If it's going downward, I'll see it going downward. So, with that said, the market is currently positioned pretty much right at this 5 mile. The overnight is at 694.39. I'm expecting the 5 mile to open around the 693.80-ish range, which means that, the overnight is very, very close to that 5-day moving average. Now, with that said, this is positioned there for a very specific reason. And I'm going to get into the structure in just a second here to further this point, but this structure is positioned here for this upward breakout. It's also positioned here. Sorry, I can't talk today for some reason. It's also positioned here just in case this news comes in very, very poorly, that it can properly have some room to sell off. Again, we've been covering for weeks now how there is a ton of bullish structure in here. Tons and tons and tons of bullish structure. Um, with that said, I want to quickly hop over to the 4-hour time frame, and I want to show this extremely nice up and handle we have set up. And I'm going to delete this because this happened right there, and it happened in a lot smaller time frame, but this was the Powell news, and from the Powell news, we had that handle downward, and I should probably redraw this just because the handle downward was a lot shorter. We had that handle downward, and from the handle downward, we're now expecting upside. And I'm actually going to draw this arrow again because it's just not looking very pretty. So, okay, there we go. Now, with that said, very quickly jumping back to the upper Bollinger. The upper Bollinger, as of tomorrow, very, very likely is going to be around that 700 range, depending on what happens with the open. If we see selling in the open, if we see rejection of this 5 mile range, then again, you need to be looking towards the 20 mile. Um, the pre-market's pretty much going to tell us exactly what's going to happen for the day, with the CPI data. But if there's any concern on your end, for example, if we start um having a sell downward when we had the data come in cool, um, then look at the VVIX again. Remember, that's a very, very important tool to watch. Also watch the ADL. Now this is the daily ADL. This is looking extremely strong and ready to push all-time highs. And today we did see all-time highs technically, but this is telling you that a lot of money is flowing into this. I want to turn off the drawings for a second, but the upper Bollinger is very likely going to be around that 700 range. If we see selling in the open, it can pull downward, but again, very likely I have my sights set on that 700. That means that if we're going to have the breakout actually occur, that we should be fully anticipating a push probably to that 701 to 702 as of the 13th. Now again, going over upper Bollinger moves very quickly. Day one, we generally want to see a close at the Bollinger or at the upper Bollinger or higher. And from that, we'll get the day two upper Bollinger, which means that we will get a higher high into downward consolidation generally. So this can be a very, very large move upward. This is why I was saying in Weeble chat, even though Weeble's been blocking my posts lately, or not blocking them, but it doesn't show the notification for everybody. So definitely be checking my profile if you're looking for those posts. It's very frustrating that I've been having to deal with that. I'm very tempted to make a X account in terms to post all of my stuff. But with that said, the upside from here should be around that 705, 706 range. Um, Again, this is if the CPI data comes in good, if the market takes it acceptable, and we see the VVIX start pulling downward, pulling below that 88 range, that'll tell us that we're going to get that upper Bollinger move very, very likely. Now, with the market currently being at 694, that means that the upper Bollinger is almost a whole $10 away. The full extent of that upper Bollinger move. So still a very quality trade to be had here. What else did I want to cover? Tons of bullish structure here. This breakout is just waiting to happen any moment now. So I think it's looking very strong. From all the other instruments I've been looking at the HIG, looking at the DXY pulling down, we're seeing a lot of uh, equity buying strength, and I think that the Powell scare was just a scare, and that's really it. Now, um, yeah, uh, hopefully everyone was able to pick up some calls as of yesterday. If not, it's okay. Don't try to chase this move too much. If we're going to get this move, then extremely likely we see it start tomorrow. If it doesn't start tomorrow, then extremely likely it's because we have um, hot CPI data coming in and the market would be selling off at that point. So, um, yeah, I am bullish for the move upward. Everything's good. All these structures are completed towards the upside. We have been rejecting selling ranges nonstop, so it looks it looks really good. Um, sorry, I'm extremely tired right now. I'm just kind of zoning out. Um, Overall, yeah, we should be seeing that move to the upside. I'd be extremely surprised if we don't. Um, that's gonna be the video tonight, everybody. Sorry, it's not the usual length or anything. I had an extremely long day. So, um, there's something I wanted to cover, but I can't remember. I'll have to bring it up in tomorrow's video. I just can't remember it tonight. I apologize. It was a question from Weeple earlier, and I just can't check my phone right now. Um, have a great day trading tomorrow, everybody. Hopefully some of you were able to watch the day trading video. If you liked it and if it wasn't just non-coherent babbling, then I will continue to update that and add pointers and things that I do with my trades that hopefully you can include in your trades that will help you. So take care. Thank you all for watching as always, and I will talk to you in tomorrow's video.